I thought the house I was dog-sitting in was haunted. Now I wish it had been. Hey Reddit. Throwaway because people I know follow my main account. I don't really post, and I definitely never thought I'd be writing something like this. But I haven't slept properly since it happened, and I keep thinking if I don't get it out, it's going to mess me up worse than it already has. Last weekend, I took a dog-sitting job for this sweet old lady in town. I'll call her Mrs. B. She's one of those ladies everyone knows. Super nice. I'd walked her golden retriever Max before, but this time she asked if I'd stay over from Friday to Sunday because she was going to a class reunion a few states away. The money was good, and I figured, hey, free food and a golden retriever cuddle machine for a weekend? Count me in. Her house is really old, big and creaky, surrounded by trees with barely any neighbors. It has those tall, narrow windows, dusty picture frames everywhere, and hallways that seem way too long at night. The kind of house that feels cozy in the afternoon, but turns into a nightmare on Elm Street by 9. The first night was fine. Max and I binged 7 straight episodes of Maude, eating popcorn while I laughed my ass off at the genius of B. Arthur. I crashed on the couch around midnight. I'd made sure to lock up the front and back doors, even double-checking the windows. Maybe a bit paranoid, sure, but I was alone in a big-ass house in the woods. Better safe than sorry. Around 2 a.m., I woke up out of nowhere. You know that feeling when your body knows something's wrong before your brain catches up? That's what it felt like. I was just lying there in the dark, staring at the ceiling fan. And then I heard it. Faint, slow thumping noises above me. It sounded like footsteps. I told myself it was just the leftover sounds from my dream. But then Max lifted his head and looked at the ceiling too, with his ears perked up. He let out this low, growly huff. Not a bark. Just that I heard it too noise that dogs make. My heart was in my throat. I told myself it was a raccoon on the roof or something. With Max practically on top of me, I felt secure enough, and eventually, I fell back asleep. The whole next day, though, I was on edge. I even went upstairs to check around in the daylight and confirm everything looked normal. A little dusty and unused, but nothing scary, just quiet. But when I went to feed Max in the morning, I noticed the back door deadbolt was unlocked. I was 100% absolutely sure that I had locked it. I remember twisting the deadbolt and tugging the door to be certain. I even remember thinking, you watch too many true crime docs, as I did it. So how was it unlocked? But again, I brushed it off. Brains play tricks on us, right? That night, I made sure everything was locked. I triple-checked the doors and even wedged a chair under the back doorknob. I don't care if that only works in movies. It made me feel better. Around 3 a.m., I woke up again. And this time, it wasn't only footsteps. I could hear someone walking down the stairs. Max was already off the couch, growling low and stiff, staring at the hallway like he was ready to charge. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, heart absolutely pounding. But I didn't see anything, just the empty hallway and the stairs vanishing into dark shadows. Then I heard a door creak, like someone slowly pushing open one of the guest bedroom doors. I didn't scream. I didn't even breathe. I just stood there, frozen, shining the flashlight like it was some kind of weapon. I whispered Max's name, but he wouldn't move. He just stared. I called my mom, whispering into the phone like I was hiding from something. She was out of town too. "If you're scared, call 911. "Cool, Mom. Thanks." I didn't sleep after that. I just sat on the couch with Max, watching the hallway until the sun came up. And in the morning, that's when I found the coffee mug. A white mug sitting in the sink with a ring of dried coffee in the bottom. I hadn't used any mugs. I had never been a coffee drinker. I'd only been drinking from the water bottle I brought with me. I hadn't even gone into the cabinets. But there it was, and the faint smell was still lingering there. I stood there staring at it like it was a ghost. But ghosts don't drink coffee. And ghosts don't typically make noises when they walk around at night. I was officially done. I called Mrs. B and told her I was uncomfortable staying there another night because I thought someone had broken in. I expected panic or at least concern, but all I got was this weird, long pause, and then a soft, "Oh dear. Are you sure?" Like she already knew. She sighed and said she would come home early, and she got back around 3 p.m. She was weirdly calm and even offered to pay me the full amount anyway. I told her again that someone else had been in the house, and that's when she finally told me. Her son. Apparently, he's in his 40s, doesn't have a job, and lives off and on with her. He has some emotional issues, she said. He doesn't have a key, but he always finds the spare. And sometimes when she's out of town, he lets himself in. She said she told him not to this time, like it was a little misunderstanding, like it was barely anything at all. I took my payment and left, and shortly after I blocked her number. I left a review on her page on the sitting site, mentioning how great Max is and the nice house, but also that she never disclosed that a strange man could be coming by. I was in that house for 2 full nights, totally alone, or so I thought. And some grown man, someone I didn't know, had been hiding upstairs, watching me, walking around when he thought I was sleeping. And Mrs. B knew he might do that, and she left me there anyway, without ever mentioning it. I honestly think about what could have happened if I tried to go upstairs. Or worse, the idea of waking up and seeing him standing right over me while I slept. So yeah, I thought the house was haunted. I wish it had been haunted, but ghosts don't drink coffee. This happened just last year. I'm 40 now, married with 2 boys, ages 7 and 5. I work in insurance, which sounds boring because it is, but we're stable and that's all I care about at this point in life. A couple of years ago, my dad passed away after a long bout with cancer. He left behind a beach house down in Delaware that I had never been to before because he used to rent it out year-round. It's nothing flashy or big, but it's in a fantastic spot just 1 block off the boardwalk. My favorite part about it by far is the upstairs back deck that provides a really nice view of the ocean. We started going there every summer after he passed, using it for our escape. A week here, a weekend there, it became our family tradition. As much as my wife and I love spending time there, the boys love it even more. They'll spend hours on end playing on the beach, riding bikes, and exploring the town. It feels like a gift, something my dad left behind for us to enjoy. This story takes place during one of those weeks last summer. We'd gone down in mid-July, a Sunday through Friday kind of thing, when the crowds would thin out mid-week and the beach was a little quieter. I remember the night clearly. It was a Wednesday. The boys had knocked out around 9:30 after a long day in the sun, and my wife and I were sitting on the back deck playing cards and sipping wine. That's when our older son, Jordan, came outside. He had this uneasy look on his face. He told me that he kept hearing a scratching noise in his room, and it was keeping him awake. I glanced at my wife, then set my glass down and stood up, telling him that I would go check it out. I figured it was probably just generic house sounds. It's a pretty old structure after all. The boys weren't sharing a room, so there was no need to wake the younger one. I followed Jordan downstairs to his room, and he pointed to the wall near his bed and motioned for me to be quiet. We both stood there for a while, and I didn't hear anything at first, but I didn't want him to think that I didn't believe him, so I kept standing there a little while longer. Then I finally heard it. A soft scratching sound just like he had described. I crouched down and pressed my ear to the wall. It didn't sound like an animal in the rafters or anything. It sounded like it was coming from inside the wall, lower down and closer to the baseboards. And then I heard breathing. Not an animal, definitely not. It was deep, slow, human breathing. I flinched back and let out a sharp "Jesus" without even meaning to. And then, I'm not kidding about this, I heard the most guttural and angry scream I've ever heard ring out from somewhere inside the wall. I grabbed Jordan by the arm and yanked him out of the room. We ran down the hall to get my younger son, Scott, who was still asleep. I didn't even give him a chance to open his eyes. I just scooped him up and ran. I needed to get back upstairs to the deck where my wife was waiting. That was the only thing on my mind at that point. As we reached the base of the stairs, I yelled for her, and then I heard another scream come from somewhere behind me. I turned around and saw a man covered in filth, charging down the hallway straight at us. I nearly tripped trying to get up the stairs with both of my sons, but we made it onto the deck just in time. Not 2 seconds after I slammed the sliding door shut, the guy hit the glass full force. I genuinely thought it would shatter. He started clawing at the door like an animal, shrieking and pounding, yelling things I can't bring myself to repeat. I threw my body against the door and yelled at my wife to grab the kids and call the police. She pulled them back from the scene, covering their ears, while I kept my eyes on his, trying to block him from the view of my family. He was wild, completely unhinged. His hand smeared something, I don't even know what, across the glass as he banged and tried to force the door open. He seemingly had unlimited energy because it took all my strength to keep that door shut, and he didn't let up once. But all I could think about was protecting my family, and I was fully prepared to fight this guy if the glass broke. But before that happened, the police showed up. They must have come around the side because within seconds, I saw 2 officers inside the house running at the guy who was still banging on the door. One of the officers tackled him from behind, and the other helped restrain him. The rest of the night was a blur. After getting that guy out of my house and in the back of a police car, the officers asked for my version of things, which I told them. Together, the 3 of us inspected the house to try and assess how that man had been inside the walls and how he had gotten out so quickly. It turns out, the property has a crawl space that I never knew about. There's an entrance underneath the back porch, and from there, it leads into a standing crawl space that runs alongside the foundation and has a second access point through a loose panel in Jordan's closet. I had never even thought to do a full inspection of the house when we inherited it. I never even bothered refinishing it. A few days later, I got more information from a detective who called to follow up. He shared that the perpetrator admitted that he had been staying in the crawl space for months, that he had discovered it during the off-season and was planning to harm my family that night for intruding on his new home. Apparently, he had been stealing food from both our house, which we somehow didn't notice, as well as the neighbors' trash bins. We didn't go back for the rest of the summer. Not out of fear of something else happening, but out of trauma. I didn't want to bring my wife or kids back there for a while, and they didn't object. I hired a crew to seal off the crawl space completely, and once that was done, I was finally able to relax a bit. We've been using the house again this summer, and I'm glad to say that things are back to normal, at least as close to it as we're going to get.